Welcome back to part 2 of Dominion Hinterlands, What's in the Box. Let's get started. So, here we have Trader, another reaction card, and this is another one of my favorite cards in this expansion. The action part is you trash a card from your hand, and you gain a number of silvers equal to its cost in coins. So you trash an estate with the Trader, you're going to get 2 silvers. You trash a silver, you're going to get 3 silvers. If you trash a copper, you get nothing at all. So that is something to note. You trash a wasteland with this card, you get nothing at all. But if you got this at the beginning of the game, it's possible you won't have too many wastelands, and here's why. This is the reaction part. When you would gain a card, you may reveal this from your hand. If you do, instead, gain a silver. So you get somebody's going to give you a wasteland. You can reveal this from your hand and say, you're giving me a silver instead. Better than Moat. Moat just blocks it. This one blocks it, but gives you a silver instead of that pesky wasteland or curse. That is a powerful card, and it's definitely one of my favorite cards in this expansion for sure. So that's really cool. Trader, awesome. All right, so then we have the Noble Brigand. And this one is very similar to Thief from the original base game before they removed it. But it does give you a benefit of +1 treasure. But what's really cool about this is you get to play it when you buy it. So that is really cool. So when you buy this, or play it, each other player reveals the top 2 cards of his deck, trashes a revealed silver or gold you choose, and discards the rest. If he didn't reveal a treasure, he gains a copper. You gain the trashed cards. This is a lot more powerful than Thief in a lot of ways. For one thing, you're not going to get coppers with this card, but you're going to give your opponents copper. And copper is not something your opponents are going to be craving too much. So if they don't lose any silvers or golds, they're getting coppers. And they're not going to want too many coppers in their deck unless they're a copper strategist and they have a copper strategy in mind. So this is powerful in 2 ways. One way, they could lose a precious silver or gold, or they're getting a copper. So that's really cool. You could say it's rob for the rich, give to the poor, but in the sense, the poor aren't going to want those coppers. And then you still gain the trashed cards that were trashed, silver or gold. And, once again, you still get +1 treasure when you play this. And remember, you could play this when you buy it. That's awesome. Very powerful card. Then we have one more 4-costing card in this expansion, Silk Road. But it's not very good. It's definitely a hated card, because it's just not as useful as other cards are. So we won't go over it. Alright, so let's continue on. Now we're on to the 5-costing cards. Okay. So first we have the Mandarin. You get +3 treasure. And then you put a card from your hand on top of your deck. But here's what's cool. When you gain this, put all treasures you have in play on top of your deck in any order. Now that is really cool. So if you had a lot of treasure cards that allowed you to buy this, you're putting them all back on top. Let's say it was 5 coppers. You could just keep buying this over and over until you decided to stop buying Mandarin. So that's pretty cool. That's one way to get a bunch of these in the beginning of the game, is just doing that a lot. Or you can also use this to your advantage. If you used up a lot of really good treasures, like golds or silvers to buy this, they're going to go back on top too. Just make sure when you gain this, you don't play any of those coppers if you don't want them to go back on top of your deck as well. So that is something to note. It's a pretty cool card. Then we have Haggler. Well, it's going to give you 2 treasure when you play it. And then while this is in play, when you buy a card, you gain a card costing less than it that is not a victory card. So this card allows you to gain something cheaper than the cards you buy, but it can't be a victory card. So that's really cool. I like that one a lot. Haggler is definitely a really cool card. Then we have Embassy, and I don't really like Embassy that much, but because it has a gain effect, we'll go ahead and talk about it real quick. You get 5 cards. Then you discard 3 cards. So basically, you're keeping 2 of the 5 cards you're getting, or 2 of the cards altogether. So that's pretty cool, I guess. And then when you gain this, each other player gains a silver. So it's another interactive card. You're giving your opponents silver when you buy this or gain this. So that's really cool. in some respects, but in other respects it's not useful. Unless we have like a bunch of villages in the game or something, then it could be potentially useful. But if there is no villages in the game or no +2 actions, it's not very useful in my eyes. So, then we have the inn. Well, this one gives you 2 cards and 2 actions, but then you have to discard 2 cards as well. But when you gain this, look through your discard pile, including this, reveal any number of action cards from it, and shuffle them into your deck. That is really cool. If you have a ton of action cards in your discard pile and you decide to put them all there, or all the ones you want, you can have a lot of turns with just actions. And if you have a lot of these inns, or a lot of these actions that give you plus actions, you can have some very powerful turns for a while after you purchase this. That's really cool, including this. So that's really cool. It's definitely a really good card. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's definitely in the middle, for sure. Then we have Highway. Well, this is definitely one of my favorites. And when I first saw the picture, I thought it was an elephant. Obviously, it's not an elephant. It's just a couple of horses on a carriage. See, a couple of horses, or should I say one horse, pulling a carriage of straw by the looks of it. And a man, obviously. So you get a card and you get an action, and that's pretty basic. But then while this is in play, cards cost 1 less, but not less than 0. Now, if you guys have played Intrigue, you know about Bridge. This is basically the same thing. But if you ask me, I like this better, because Bridge was a lot harder to chain, and this one you can chain horrendously, and bring those higher costing cards down to, well, down to 0. If you played a bunch of these highways, you could almost do that. That's a very powerful card. It's one of my favorites in this expansion. Then we have Cartographer, and this is probably my second most favorite card in the expansion. So, yeah, definitely my second. Alright, so you get a card and you get an action, and that's pretty basic. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck, discard any number of them, and then put the rest back and on top in any order. So this is a powerful card, very powerful. You could chain a bunch of these and then get a ton of cards, with +1 card, +1 action, and really clean out your deck of all those cards you don't want. And then, think about it. Remember Tunnel? Whenever Tunnel was revealed after being discarded, you would get a gold. So if you were playing with Tunnel and Cartographer, you could potentially get a bunch of golds in the process as well. So very powerful card. It's definitely my second most favorite card in this expansion. Okay, well, we still have some more 5-costing cards here. In fact, we have about 4 more. So let's go over them. Well, Stables is pretty cool. You may discard a treasure. If you do, +3 cards and +1 action. That is really cool. Hold on to your coppers. This is a copper strategy card. Keep your coppers, discard one of them, get 3 cards and an action. That's really cool. I definitely like Stables a whole lot. Then we have Cash. Well, can you picture some times when you wanted to gain a gold, but all you had was 5 money? Well, with Cash, it basically is a gold costing 5. However, when you gain this, you also get 2 coppers. So, it evens itself out a little bit, unless you're really into those coppers and you want to have a copper strategy involved. For sure, that could be useful. Now, this is my most favorite card in this expansion, Ill-Gotten Gains, and I like it for 2 reasons. One reason, it's a fairly pretty good card for a copper strategy, and the other reason, it gives out Wastelands, or, for you guys, it gives out Curses. And so, I like attack cards, and this is also not considered an attack card because it's a treasure and it's not an attack, so that's another thing. So Moat cannot block this. Only Trader from this expansion, and, obviously Watchtower from Prosperity. I think there's like 1 or 2 more out there that could block it. But still, that's really cool. So when you play this, you may gain a copper putting it into your hand. So it's worth 1 treasure, and you could get a copper to your hand, making it basically 2 treasure. And then when you gain this, each other player is going to get a Wasteland or a Curse, for those of you who just normally play with Curses. I'm probably the only person who plays with Wastelands, since I'm the one that created them as a replacement for Curse. Still, that's really cool. It is my most favorite card in this expansion. Then we have 3 cards left, and that'll end this video. And yeah, we'll go over all of them real quick. So Margrave is a meaner militia. It is known as a meaner militia. So it gives you 3 cards, and it gives you a plus buy, and each other player draws a card and then discards down to 3 cards in hand. So it's a very nasty attack card, because now they're going to have an extra card, but now they're, instead of discarding 2 cards, they're going to be discarding 3 cards, because they're going to have to discard down to 3 cards in hand. So that is a very nasty attack card. Very mean. Here, have a card. Oh, wait a minute. You're going to have to discard an extra card now. Very mean and nasty. But remember, there is Tunnel. That could be helpful with a Margrave involved. Then we have Border Village card and 2 actions. But why does this one cost 6 when normal villages only cost 3? That's because when you buy this, when you gain this, you can gain a card costing less than this. So that's really cool. You buy this and you're getting another card for free, like a 5 costing card. Or you could get a duchy, because that also costs 5. Remember, Haggler prevented you from gaining victory cards with it. This one does not prevent you. So you could, like I said, gain a duchy. Now here's another thing where it could be useful. If you were playing with Highway and this, and you played a bunch of highways, you would have to, and you played 3 highways, and then you decided to purchase this for 6 money, you could gain a province, because your province would now be only 5 costing. So that is another awesome way of doing it. But like I said, it would be hard to pull that off. Okay, the last card in the expansion. Farmland. Another victory card. It gives you 2 victory points. When you buy this, trash a card from your hand, gain a card costing 2 more than the trashed card. So that's kind of cool. It's kind of an interesting way of remodeling a card. You could buy this, trash an estate in your hand, and gain something better than the estate. And because this is worth 2 victory points, it's still better than estate because of that. Because the estate's only 1 victory point. It's not the best card in the world, but it's certainly not a hated card either. So that's all, folks. That's all of the cards that are in this expansion for Dominion Hinterlands. Guys, I hope you guys liked these videos, and I'll see you guys again soon. Thank you for watching.